Hello, you reached Rebecca Satel's cell phone. Please leave a message. Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
We can hear that phone, by the way.
I muted it. Mr. Chair, we now have a quorum and are able to start.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 10:04 a.m. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at RedistrictingMI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participating in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other special or specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the Michigan.gov MICRC website and written public comment submissions. There's also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by both the commission and the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should first direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Executive Director for the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the public watching and the public record, I'll turn to the Department of State to take note of the commissioners present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, commissioners. Please stay present when I call your name. We're all attending remotely, so please also announce during roll call where you are attending the meeting remotely from. And unless your absence is due to military duty, please announce your physical location by stating county, city, township, or village and the state from which you are attending. I'll call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Doug Clark.
Present, and I'm attending today's meeting from Duarte, California.
Juanita Curry.
Present and attending virtually from Detroit, Michigan.
Anthony Ede,
Good morning. Present and remotely attending from Oakland County, Michigan.
Brittany Kellum,
Present and attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Rhonda Lang, Steve Lett,
Present and attending from Lansing, Michigan.
Cynthia Orton,
Present, attending remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
MC Rothmorn, Rebecca Zatella,
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Follett,
Present, attending virtually from Highland Township, Michigan.
Richard Weiss. Or,
Present.
I'm sorry,
attending-
actually. Sorry, Richard. I skipped
Yeah.
Aaron.
Oh,
Aaron
yes.
Wagner. All right, Richard Weiss,
All right. Present, attending remotely from Saginaw Township, Saginaw, Michigan.
Dustin Witches,
I'm present and I'm attending remotely from Tuscola, Illinois.
10 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Reinhardt. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda. Motion made by Commissioner Wharton, seconded by Commissioner Lett. Any discussion or debate on the motion? All right, hearing none. It's moved and seconded to be adopted. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand, say nay. All right, as the ayes prevail, the motion is adopted. We'll move on to public comment. Without objection, we will begin the public comment portion pertaining to agenda topics of our meeting. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with a public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. I'll call you by name and our staff will unmute you. If you're on a computer, you'll be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host wants you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I'll call you on by name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Also, please note if you experience technical or audio issues or we do not hear from you within 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later meeting. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First line to provide public comment this morning is Mr. Anthony Scannell.
Hello, MICRC. I watched your last meeting and I was disappointed to see voter turnout in Wayne County was 46.3%. It's pretty upsetting, but I don't know, maybe your maps didn't inspire turnout. Who knows? And it was 7.4% worse than, I don't know if it was 2020 they compared it to, whatever, 2018, whatever it was pretty bad. But I've been thinking about the commission. I've probably said this before. The dormancy is a big topic of discussion, but I think it's been the cart before the horse because you've been discussing dormancy before you even discussed the reports or had any idea what your reports would look like and the dissenting reports and all that. So I think it's been something that you rushed to and unnecessarily. Number 2, I would recommend the next commission, or that you guys recommend to the next commission, employ a parliamentarian, and so that you have the good discussions, that you don't have people talking over each other and seemingly making sidebar deals. And that's the perception I got watching the meetings. And also from one of the dissenting reports of a commissioner, they said, quote, numerous times as attending remotely, I watched the commission take breaks and come back and pass a motion regarding commission business that wasn't part of the discussion that took place prior to the break. And therefore, remote commissioners weren't privy. Unfortunately, this calls into question the whole matter of transparency for me, end quote, from the dissenting report of one commissioner. So, Section 10 of the constitutional amendment says each commissioner shall perform his or her duties in a manner that's impartial and reinforces public confidence in the integrity of the redistricting process. The commission shall conduct its business at an open meeting. So I think, we still have issues.
All right. Well, that concludes our public comment. Please feel free to email public comments to the commission at redistricting@michigan.gov. We appreciate everybody who offers public comment in whatever way you choose and invite you to keep sharing your thoughts, especially if you'd like to share ways that the MICRC processes or procedures have been good or could be more effective. All right, we'll move on in our agenda to item 5, unfinished business. Which will be item 5A, the fiscal year 23 budget update. Without objection, I will ask our MICRC Executive Director, Edward Woods III, to present this item. Hearing none, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Witches. Let me put up my screen so everybody can see. You can see it, just nod your head, please. Great, thank you. Just kind of want to update where we are with regards to our fiscal year 23 budget update. Many of you may have known that the state Senate approved yesterday the 1.5 million budget supplemental that was not approved in the last legislative session. They did approve it, but it still needs the House to approve it and the governor's approval as it relates to the budget. The Court of Claims response, and I'm sure Commissioner Lett will address that later, is due Wednesday, January 25th, but we do have some progress with regards to some of our funding. I repeat, some of our funding for fiscal year 23. Our fiscal year 23 funding amount, which is based upon 25% of the Michigan Department of State General Fund General Purpose amount, is roughly 3.17 million. But however, this is a step in the right direction. So just wanted to provide that update to the commission. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
Any questions for Director Woods in regards to the budget update from anyone? All right. Seeing none, we'll just chug along in our agenda here. Next is item 5B, dormancy and reactivation plan. And without objection, I will ask Commissioner Lett and Commissioner Clark to present this item. Hearing none, please proceed, Commissioner Lett.
Thank you, Dustin. The plan is as presented. We did hear back from Mike Brady, who is on with us today, that he has no further report. So the next step as far as the commission goes, and there's not necessarily a need to adopt the plan today, but it is as presented, and I would assume that we will be adopting that within the next 1 or 2 meetings. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Doug, what do you have to add, please?
Yeah, I'd like to add that we've been putting this thing together for 8 months now, and I'd like to put a motion forward that we adopt this as our plan moving forward.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion that was brought by Commissioner Clark and seconded by Commissioner Zatella to approve the dormancy and reactivation plan that they've been working on for past 8 months. Any discussion or debate on said motion? Commissioner Kell.
Can you just quickly, or someone, it doesn't matter, give the nuts and bolts of the plan in terms of like start date and what it would entail?
Sure. Doug, you want to do that?
Yeah, let me get a copy of it in front of me. Yeah, it's pretty basic. One of the things that we did is that we met with Sarah and we met with some of the Department of State technical folks. Because a key part of the plan was, what do we do with our equipment when the time comes? And the idea and the language in the plan is that the equipment would be returned once dormancy was voted on and by the commission and decided it was going to move forward. The equipment would be returned and the state would take ownership of it and would put it through their normal process that they utilize within the state. We didn't want to touch the process at all. And the reactivation portion of it is that if we get new equipment, they'll rebuild it. And they have a process to do that. It's a standard process within the state of Michigan. And they will then redistribute the equipment to us. And they are able to maintain all the data. So that's the basics. That's the basics behind it. Let me highlight a couple things. We do vote to go into dormancy. When we go into after we go into dormancy, our paid stops at that point in time, and if we go back into reactivation, then our pay will kick in again, and we'll start getting paid again. And hopefully we won't have to get reactivated once we hit dormancy. So that's the basics behind it. And Edward has mailed out a copy of the verbiage, which Steve has put together as part of one of the procedures. He wrote the T's and C's associated with that. So.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, at this time, there's no like time stamp. This is more structural of the how to.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The time is determined by the commission when we go into deactivation, and that would become a subject of the meeting more than likely when the last lawsuit is closed out in the courts.
Okay. All right. It's a plan for dormanting or putting our equipment in dormancy. That's what
we'll have to send it back to the state. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Thank you, Commissioner Lett.
Commissioner Weiss.
I guess one question I have when we go into dormancy, will they, in a sense, provide us a list of what we should give back or what we have to give back so we don't miss anything or something doesn't get returned? You know, like a list of requirements, obviously the computer, the phone, some stuff, but whatever else.
Other than our notes, I don't know of anything else than the actual hardware that we have. But Sarah, do you have an opinion on that?
Sure. So in terms of equipment that has come through the Department of State to the commission, we could certainly provide a list of what should be returned. However, it's important that commissioners note, and I know that you all are aware of this, that you must preserve any of your handwritten notes or documents that you have in your possession as well. And as to that, I'm not sure that we would have a list of or an inventory of what's in your possession. So that would really fall to each commissioner to make sure and preserve and to hand over whenever the commission enters dormancy. And just one additional note, going off what Doug presented, I just wanted to note that the Department of State, we did consult with Commissioner Clark and Commissioner Lett on equipment and the return of equipment and the procedure that we have in place for that. and what we've done for your previous staff whenever they've departed with their equipment. Just wanted to note that that was exclusively what we consulted on them with, and not the overall document itself. Thank you.
Any other questions, Brittany, or anybody else?
So in essence, no one should have classified documents at home, Commissioner-elect?
Well, I wasn't going to bring up classified documents, but yes, that's correct. We've already, everybody should have already turned in a whole slew of records and reports. Obviously, if you're taking copious notes, which I can't understand why you would be at this stage of the game, but if you are, then we go into dormancy. All of that, all of the written documents you have or have received would be bundled up and packaged off and put in storage. So there would be, you should have no classified documents for the MICRC in your home once we go dormant.
Or home or office or any place else.
Or office or your car or on some CNN train rolling down the road. Nowhere. So that would be what it would be. Doug is right. We go, when the last lawsuit is done, I would anticipate at the next meeting, we would vote to go dormant, and that would end that. Obviously, there would be some winding up to do from a business standpoint with Edwards, assuming he were still here doing that. And once that's done, it's done. With that, I have nothing further. Sarah's still got her hand up. You have more, Sarah?
I do not. Sorry, I will lower my hand.
All right.
Okay, Dustin, it's back to you.
Perfecto. Okay, so on that motion, since there's no other discussion and it's been moved and seconded to accept the plan, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. All right.
Can you clarify Commissioner Curry's vote?
Oh, sure. Commissioner Curry, how did you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, ayes prevail and the motion has been adopted. All right, moving on. I believe we're going down into new business. Item 6A, fiscal year 2022 budget closeout. Without objection, I'll ask MICRC Executive Director Edward Woods to present this item. Hearing none, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Witches. We have a budget closeout. As you know, the budget closed out September 30th, 2022. And then we reached out to all of our vendors to make sure that we either had their invoice with regards to our consultants and tried to make sure we had everything. There was two things that once we get our funding that we'll need to pay, two things that we'll need to pay. It's a printing bill that we have for our maps that we produced. And we also made sure that they went to the archive. We have one on record with the Secretary of State. In the maps, we have a printing bill, and then we have a census resolutions that was with EDS with regards to some work done in August and September. So looking at a total of roughly $5,300 that will be a part of this budget for 2023. $5,300, just to give you an estimate with regards to that. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. If you like, I can continue going with the next item.
Yep, fiscal year 23 outstanding expenses. Without objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods. All right. All you, take it away.
Okay, this is the fiscal 23 revised budget as approved by the commission. The total budget for this year is $3,169,825. This represents, once again, the 25% we talked about earlier. This represents salaries at 25%, executive director, travel costs, our technology, meetings, consultants. This deals with legal and compliance issues as well as office supplies. 75%, I repeat, 75% of the money is for legal and compliance issues. 75% of the money is for legal and compliance issues. So far, these are outstanding invoices and expenses that we have received to date that I want to share with you. Once again, these are outstanding invoices and expenses that I would like to share with you at this time, so everyone has an idea of what we have. Our meetings expense is $900. This pays for the sign language interpreter that we have that does an outstanding job for us. Telecommunications deals with our phones. As you know, we have received cutoff notice with regards to our phone. We haven't paid our phone bill for 3 months. Staff salary, technology, internal purchases. This is mainly updating our computers, commission salaries, the printing that I told you we needed to include, and the consultants for the entire 246,043.52. If you want a breakdown of that, the line consultant is $23,810. Litigation counsel is roughly $137,000. The local counsel is $75,600. The VRA legal counsel is $8,500. And then our financial services, to make sure we stay compliant with our reporting, is roughly $1,000. So the precise amount is $431,994.58. That is outstanding. I repeat, outstanding, that we are behind as it relates to our bills. This was a request that came from the commission at the last meeting with regards to where we are. And so I wanted to get as accurate data as possible. So we've been working on this with Insights 3. We are using the accrual method of accounting as recommended, and Commissioner Villette knows that from our audit experience in terms of what we're doing. But this is kind of where we are with regards to the amount that is outstanding. So if any questions, we can talk about that. I know Commissioner Lett is going to talk about the AG case, but we do know that we will be incurring serious legal fees next month as we prep for that. Commissioner Clark.
Muted.
Sorry. The previous slide this morning, you talked about getting about 1.5 million that the Senate approved. And right, the slide that you just showed shows that we've got outstanding expenses of a third of that already. So we're gonna probably go through that 1.5 million, and I don't know how quick, but it's going to be pretty quick because of the lawsuit. What is there a plan to move forward and getting the remainder of the 25% of the Department of State budget, the 3.2 million, which would be an additional 1.5? Yeah.
We'll continue to work with the administration, the legislature, with regards to that. Basically, what they did was they resubmitted the supplemental bill from last year for this year to get it going. This would be a faster route in terms of getting us the money that we need to pay our outstanding bills before we go through the budgetary process where we request funds as it relates to next year. So I see this, and Commissioner Lett can comment, as a positive first step with regards to resolving our outstanding bills, but more importantly, defending the maps that were drawn fairly with citizen input.
Yeah, I personally just see us getting ourselves in a few months in the same situation that we're in today, where we've expended all the funds that we've been budgeted. So I'm hopeful that we are taking aggressive action not to get ourselves into that situation. That's all I have.
Any other questions or comments? All right. So now we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is 6C, MICRC legislation improvements, also presented by I was about to say Commissioner Woods, but Executive Director Woods. Without objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Great, thank you. We asked, voters, not politicians, the one that was responsible for organizing proposal 2018-02, draft the proposal. Obviously, as commissioners, you've been out and about at public hearings, different meetings, and we all know that the commission didn't create the proposal, but they did follow the proposal in terms of following the 7 rank redistricting criteria and ensuring citizen input. So what we want to do is just basically have a discussion as to what you feel could be changed. And then based on this discussion, I would share this information with voters, not politicians. They're preparing a lessons learned as a result of this process. And obviously, because of we have felt maybe the brunt of some frustration, there might be some things that you can share that could be helpful to them with regards to how the legislation was written for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. So at this time, it's just an open discussion. If people have ideas or things, I will write them down so that I can share that with voters, not politicians.
Who wants to start? All right, Commissioner Ward, go ahead. Commissioner Warden, I saw your hand first. Go ahead.
So this is talking about how it was written and how that could be improved.
Correct.
So I think one thing that we see right now that we're struggling with is it would have been good to add how it all ends, how we disband, when maybe more clearly about when it ends and what that procedure is.
Thank you. How it all ends is what I have down.
Commissioner Lett.
Well, one thing that from the point of view of the amendment, I agree with Cynthia. How do we wrap it up? Another thing that's enveloped with that, and kind of what we tried to do with the dormancy petition, is to say what happens if once all the initial lawsuits are resolved, if there's a subsequent lawsuit 3, 4, 5 years from now, and the courts come back and say, okay, this isn't right, you've got to redo something, who's going to do that? Now, we've said in policy, we are. Well, we're going out on a limb that we've all realized. So that would be one thing that could be improved, to specify that, from our point of view anyway, that we've said the commission goes until the next one's appointed, and anything that would come back through a subsequent lawsuit would be brought back to us. So that would be one of the things that I would say.
Commissioner Zatella.
Yeah, Edward, I'm just gonna kind of email you a list because there's a couple things, but like I think there needs to be more clarity. There were some issues that came up around voting that we had, especially the issue of the individual maps, when they can be voted on, when they have to be submitted. And I think there could be better clarity around that. We tackled those issues as we were going, but I think it should be clarified in future legislation in other states so they don't have the same issues again.
Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, I have 2 items. One is I think there needs to be some thought put into what happens when there's delays in the process as we move forward. The example would be the federal government not releasing census data. So what happens to our end dates that are defined in the Constitution when that sort of thing happens? That would be an example. And then the second thing is, I think Anthony Scannell brought up a good point today that the next commission should have a parliamentarian. And I think maybe a requirement that take place. So I have those two items.
Commissioner Ede.
Yes, I think one thing I was disappointed about that we weren't able to tackle was the issue of prison gerrymandering. If y'all will recall, we had a quite large public outcry about this issue during our first round of public hearings, but due to not having a mechanism and there not being laws in place to make it so that folks who are incarcerated are listed at their home addresses instead of their prison addresses, we weren't able to do anything about it. But the law changing or adding it into the constitutional mandate could change that.
Okay, any other ideas or suggestions at this point from anybody else? All right.
Okay,
No.
Commissioner Witches, I will bring the list back next month so everybody can see it. And we'll have Commissioner Zatella's information on there as well with regards to that, so everybody can see it, and then we can, formally submit it to voters, not politicians, for consideration and their lessons learned.
And I was gonna just add that I'll probably think of a couple of things here, and if I do, I'll forward it over to you as well, like Commissioner Zatella is going to. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Well, you're most welcome. Thank you. All right. So we have moving on to approval of minutes. I believe we have 3 of them to approve. We do. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to tackle October 27th first. These minutes have been provided to the commission before this meeting and are posted on our website. Are there any edits to the minutes for October 27th meeting? Great. I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 27th.
I move we approve them.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Orton to approve the October 27th minutes. Are there any discussion on the motion? No? All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay. Ayes prevail and the minutes are adopted. Next are the meeting minutes for November 17th meeting. Are there any edits? All right. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for November 17th.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Curry. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, ayes prevail. Meeting minutes are adopted. Next are minutes for December 15th meeting. These have also been provided and posted on our website. Any edits to these minutes? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes for December 15th.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Letts, seconded by Commissioner Weiss. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Ayes prevail and the minutes are approved. All right, let's see, moving on to reports. Executive Director's report. Without objection, I will ask Executive Director Woods to provide a report to the commission. Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Witches. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, this is our commission attendance report. This is for 2020. We had 14 meetings. 2021, we had 115 meetings. And in 2022, we had 16 meetings. We met so far for 35,289 minutes, or more than 588 hours. We have an attendance rate at our commission meeting of 93.25%. as a whole. And just want to share that this fails to include those who may have technical difficulty and attended by phone or possibly watched the meeting later with regards to our attendance. So just want to make sure I'm clear with regards to our attendance and how long the commission has met, and and how. I mean, there was a lot of meetings, as you know, in 2021. Most of you all were not working because it just wasn't time with regards to that. And so just kind of wanted to share how many meetings that took place. Everybody's clear. And these are commission meetings. These does not include subcommittee meetings, or if you were on a committee or did interviews. This does not include. These are regular commission meetings. So just really wanted to share that with you with regards to that and the high attendance rate and what you are doing as a legislative body as relates to the maps and the number of meetings that took place. Second thing I would like to share with you with regards to my report is many of you have, if you haven't received, you've gotten calls or we've been emailing because we're in the process of preparing for our court case for the AG, and they would like to schedule individual meetings with each commissioner as well as the staff. So I just wanted to share that with you. We do have the meetings are scheduled for the first week in November. The reason why I'm trying to get them all here at one time is to cut costs. We have 2 attorneys coming in from Baker Hostetler and 1 attorney representing Fink Brussick that will be present at each meeting with regards to that. So we're trying to do it all in during the first week of February, even though they put themselves out for 2 weeks. We could just save on travel expenses, hotels, and we can try to get it all done. Their preference is in person, but we do know we have to do Zoom. We do need to compensate former staff members for their time and cover travel expenses for commissioners as well as staff. And so I just need a motion, and Commissioner-elect can speak to it with regards to approve paying former staff at their last hourly rate and travel reimbursement for their assistance in MIC legal cases, the board chair, vice chair, MICRC executive director, or commission voted designee would approve their hours worked and travel reimbursement. At this time, I want to have Commissioner-elect, if he's willing, to speak on this so everyone's clear on why we need to get our former staff to assist us with their legal cases.
Commissioner.
And Rebecca may have some insight on this too. Typically on these cases where you have staff such as Edward, he will be getting paid his normal rate, period. We've had obviously the executive director retired along with the attorney. If they come back and are deposed at our request, then we felt that they should be at whatever their last rate was to cover their time and of course their expenses as well as the expenses of the commission. So that it's more than the $1.98 you get for a witness fee, but it's only fair. $1.98 may be a little low. I don't know what it's up to now. Rebecca may know. But you got anything to add, Rebecca?
I do not. Yeah, I just think we're asking them to testify as a courtesy. We should be compensating them for their time.
Yeah, we're not paying them for their testimony. We're paying them for their time that they're having to spend.
Exactly.
Last rate. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. If not, then I would move that we adopt a motion to, Doug.
I have one question. When we say time, how do we define that? Do we define that as just time with the attorneys or travel time plus time with attorneys?
I would define it as time with the attorneys. We're covering their travel expenses,
Correct.
but we're not paying them door to door.
I agree with that. I just wanted it defined up front.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Warden.
So this is normal. This is normally how things are done, to pay people, former employees, for their time.
I don't know that there's a quote normal. There certainly would be instances where you wouldn't. That, you know, somebody's been gone for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're just going to pay them a witness fee. But in our case, the two that are come to my mind, executive director and attorney, were integral parts of the process, and therefore really treating them as coming back as an employee and paying them for their time. So I don't know that there's a quote normal. There's nothing that I'm aware of. Rebecca maybe knows in the court rules that say I got to pay a former employee to come back. There's nothing that says I can't.
I would say it's not atypical is how I would characterize it. We wouldn't consider it to be unusual to pay someone. It wouldn't be unusual to not pay someone. In this case, we're choosing to compensate them for that time that it's going to take, where they're having to take time off their existing jobs, or in Sue's case, she's retired, to come in and meet with the attorneys.
I'll second the motion.
I don't think I got it made yet.
Oh, I thought you
started.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I would move that the commission pay the former staff at their most recent hourly rate for the time they spend in deposition and for their travel expenses.
I'll second it. All right, motion was made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by myself. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 All opposed, raise your hand, say nay. And the motion is adopted. All right. Anything else, Executive Director Woods?
Yes, let me put up my screen again. I need the commission's approval to change our next meeting on February 16th from a start time of instead of 10 o'clock a.m. to start at 9 o'clock a.m. If that could be approved, I would greatly appreciate it.
Commissioner Ward?
I've checked with our attorneys and with MDOS, and no one has come with any objections.
That was my question. So moved. I move that we change the February 16th meeting from 10 a.m. to 9 a.m. start time.
Second.
All right, motion to set our next meeting to 9 a.m. Motion made by Commissioner Orton, seconded by Commissioner Lett. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. All right, motion is adopted. And please continue, Director Woods.
Sure. Once again, I want to thank Nelson from MDOS. He provides the updates. As you can see, our updates have website hits have gone down since the election. In November, they've gone down. So we're at 10,824 page views. 63% of that is final and district maps, 11%, excuse me, is district maps by county. In the materials, the meeting materials that were sent out and is also posted on the website, we identify what we call presentation reports. These deal with presentations, media interviews, or any outreach activity. Right now, we're mainly doing presentations. And as of December 31st, we're at 285. 285 presentations. It's color coded, so you can identify what is what, but black is presentations, orange are interviews, and purple is outreach. So the main thing we're doing right now are presentations and interviews when requested. I want you to know I did update the catalog of meetings. The catalog of meetings provides is how we track in terms of what takes place at each meeting. We also track to make sure minutes, transcripts, and things are listed so that we are up to date. And that's something that we spend a lot of time helping out with that. Want to give a shout out to Sarah and Reinhardt as well as Nelson, who continue to help and facilitate this process. This is necessary for our attorneys as it relates to discovery, and also just making sure that everything that we said we did or every document that's out there is open and available to the public as part of our values of transparency. And then also been meeting with legislators and their staff as it relates to the budget as well. Those are just some of the highlights that I wanted to share with you. If there's any questions or things that people may be concerned about, please let me know and I'll be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Woods, Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Clark?
Yes. Edward, do you have any future meetings planned with the legislatures to get our, the discussion on the amount of money that we need to get approved?
Yes, Commissioner Lett and I are meeting with the governor's legislative director today with regards to that, and I'll provide an update.
All right. Any other
Okay.
questions?
And the purpose of that meeting?
Fiscal year 23 budget. To talk about the funding.
The funding and how to get it approved?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So we've been doing that, Commissioner Clark, for about the last 2 months or so, just trying to do updates. And we're seeing some progress, to be honest with you. So
Good.
we're not
Yeah,
where we want to be, but we're getting closer to our goal. And so really want to thank the legislators and their staff that have met with us, as well as the governor's office and their staff that has met with us to get this behind us so that we can defend our maps.
Yeah, I think it's a positive thing. I think I'd rather take that route than go through the courts as we've already initiated. So thank you, Edward.
Any other questions for Mr. Woods? All right. Move on to our legal liaison report. Commissioner Lett, is there anything you'd like to share?
Okay, as Edward said, we're meeting with Curtis Hertel today at 1 o'clock. As he's also said, the Senate approved in a supplemental the 1.5 million. We were asked at one time if that would do it, would we be satisfied with that? And we said, that's a good start. How are you going to handle the balance? So we'll be talking about that today. Hopefully it will move through the legislature and then on to the governor's desk. I do not anticipate a problem with the 1.5. So from the legislative side, Edward has been mining those efforts. We have also directed our local attorneys, Fink, Bressett, to reach out to the attorneys that are defending the state to see if there is some opening there to resolve this without having to proceed with any further litigation. And the reason that we did that is because, as you're aware, we approved a time frame for them to answer. They requested an extension, and we approved it. The idea then being, once we did that our attorneys would talk with their attorneys and say, look, isn't there something we can work out? You won't have to answer. We can get something done and dismiss the suit or do something with it. So all of those actions are taking place concurrently at the same time. So we're trying to work both ends. I haven't talked with Nate or David, other than to know that Nate, I believe, made an approach, and I don't know the results of that. I know David was familiar with and knew the attorneys that are on the case for the state. So that brings you up to date on what we're doing moving forward. Certainly the idea would be that, however this meeting goes today, to put in place the request for the balance of the funds as this budget season goes forward. Who knows how they do this? It's like making sausage. You don't want to know what goes into it. But that's where we're at with that. We have the one case, the Bannerman case has been dismissed. I don't know if anybody particularly knows why they decided to dismiss it, other than the fact they kept losing. May have something to do with it, but that's gone. So that leaves AG, and as we discussed before, the normal process, start taking depositions and move the case along pursuant to the court, the trial schedule, court scheduling order that was presented previously by the attorneys. So I think that brings the litigation up to date, as well as what's going on with the attorneys and trying to get the funds. And if you got questions, I'd be happy to attempt to answer them.
Commissioner Kellum.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment. I deeply appreciate the work that's going into liaisoning regarding getting our funding and making sure that this is amicably resolved at this point. I just think that, you know, it's kind of unfortunate that we've had to go through this, especially the hard work that we've done in the spirit of respecting our professionalism and us as employees, as well as the amount of collaboration that's been exhibited as commissioners. So I'm praying fervently that this lawsuit is resolved, because at this point, it's not about the money, as I've said, or us getting paid. It's now about the respect of the work that we have done, and the respect that we have is still meeting and trying to handle this as best we can as adults. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Commissioner Lett? All right. Moving on to the Department of State updates. And without objection, are there any updates that Ms. Reinhardt or Mr. Brady have to give us?
Yes, I do have 2 updates for you all.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So first, I wanted to update the commission that SurveyMonkey, which is the tool through which members of the public sign up for live public comment, will no longer be on contract through the Department of State as of the first week of February. So I've discussed with your executive director a few alternate ways that members of the public can sign up for or indicate that they want to give public comment or live public comment during a meeting. And what we arrived at was the best way would probably be for them to email the redistricting inbox at this point. So the meeting notice for February will be updated to reflect that new procedure. But just wanted to update you all that we will no longer have that SurveyMonkey available for public comment going forward. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, my second update for you all is that DTMB, who oversees some of the technology aspects for your laptop, I'm sure you are all intimately familiar with DTMB at this point. So they have adopted a new policy going into effect this summer that any computer not logged into their VPN within the last 180 days will have their accounts and the contents of their devices deleted. So with the adoption of this policy, It's absolutely critical that every commissioner log into their VPN and allow security updates to occur at least once per month, ideally once per week. So each commissioner will need to log into their VPN, and the updates may take several hours. So you can log in and just leave your device for the day to perform updates and to connect to the network. So if you have not logged into your VPN in a while, it is possible that it may now be inactive. And if that is the case, it will need to be brought into a state facility and physically plugged into the network. So if when you are trying to log into your VPN, if you are unable to do it, just contact Edward or me, and we can work to coordinate getting your device to a state facility so that we can resolve this issue. And then just to reiterate, on an ongoing basis, once any issues are resolved and you've logged into the VPN, you'll need to continue to do that at least once per month, ideally once per week. Any questions on this?
Yes,
Juanita?
yes. Sarah, I have contacted the people that takes care of the VPN and with no avail. They have not been able to help me. I even went in with Edward, Mr. Woods, and stayed down there about 3 or 4 hours, and they couldn't get my VPN to work. So that's probably why I can't log in. So I don't know what to do. I've called the number several times with no one call, returning the call, and I'm not having any luck with that.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely something that Edward and I can work together to resolve, and we'll escalate the issue within DTMB so we can make sure and get your VPN fixed so you're able to log in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, those are all the updates I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. All right. Correspondence, if any, was received in advance of our meeting today, along with any written public comments and provided to the commissioners. Are there any agenda items that commissioners would like to add to future agendas? Okay, are there any announcements? All right. There's one more thing on our agenda, and that's to adjourn, as the items on our agenda are completed and the commission has no further business today. A motion to adjourn is.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, way to jump the gun. Okay, so motion made by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Weiss. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Right. All opposed, raise your hand and say nay. All right, we are adjourned at 11:04 a.m. Have a